28 days. That's it. That's all the time Tasha K has left before the bottom officially falls out, and the woman is on Instagram cackling like somebody just told her a joke at a barbecue. 28 days. Not 28 weeks. Not 28 months. 28 days to come up with attorney fees that could land north of $200,000, and she's posting laughing emojis. Listen, I have covered a lot of mess on this channel, but the level of audacity, the pure delusion, the bone-deep refusal to read a room that this woman is operating with right now, it is something I have never witnessed in real time. And before anybody slides into my comments with that same recycled nonsense, oh, Lakeisha lying, oh, this is old news, oh, you making stuff up for clicks, let me stop you right at the door. I have shown you the documents. I have shown you the case numbers. I have shown you the exhibits attached to Cardi B's filing. If you want to keep watching little wig-wearing channels run by people who can barely spell their own name, that is your business. But everybody else, sit down, lock in, because what I'm about to walk you through is not a recap. This is the connect the dots of how a husband, yes, the husband, quietly walked his wife straight into a financial guillotine, and how one 9-second clip of her laughing about $1,083 is the exact piece of evidence that sealed her fate. Let's get into it. I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes for a second. Picture the moment a person realizes they have lost everything. The shoulders drop. The breath goes shallow. The face changes. Now, open your eyes and watch any clip Tasha K has put out in the last 72 hours and tell me you see a single one of those signs. You won't. You will see a woman who has either disassociated so far from reality that she thinks this is content, or, and this is the theory I am leaning toward harder by the day, you will see a woman who knows the building is on fire and decided to pour gasoline, because at this point, what's the difference? Either way, the result is the same. She is going down. And the part everybody keeps missing, the part the other channels are too busy chasing a thumbnail to notice, is that she is not going down alone. There is a second name on every legal document right now, and that name belongs to her husband. And once you understand the role he has played from the very beginning, the whole picture flips. This was never just Tasha K running her mouth. This was a partnership. This was a household decision. This was a man whispering in his wife's ear, put it back up. Let her sue. I don't care, while she was pregnant and high risk, and the receipts of him saying exactly that are now in the hands of Cardi B's legal team. Let me back you up to where this thing actually pivoted, because everybody wants to talk about the original lawsuit, the $2.6 million judgment, the bankruptcy filing, and yes, all of that is part of the foundation. But the foundation is not the story right now. The story right now is the second wave, the part that just hit the docket within the last few weeks, and most of y'all do not even realize how bad it is because nobody is laying it out cleanly. So let me lay it out. Cardi B did not just take Tasha K back to court because she was bored. Cardi B took her back to court because Tasha K signed an agreement. The agreement was simple. Pay what you owe and, in the meantime, stop talking about me. That's it. That was the whole contract. A child could have followed those instructions. A goldfish could have followed those instructions. But Tasha K, with her platform, with her audience, with her so-called intelligence, could not stop herself for one financial quarter. She kept dropping coded videos. She kept doing interviews where she would not say the name, but everybody knew exactly who she was talking about. She kept laughing on camera about the money, about the judgment, about the woman herself. And every single one of those clips, every smirk, every "I asked God to break the chain" performance, every cackle about a withdrawal slip was being archived. Not by fans. By lawyers. Real lawyers. Cardi B's lawyers. And those lawyers built a brand new motion, walked it into court, and the judge looked at the evidence, looked at Tasha K, and said you owe her attorney fees on top of everything else. Game over. Now here is where the husband angle becomes absolutely critical, and I need everybody listening, because this is the piece the other channels are completely fumbling. In Tasha K's own interview, on her own platform, with her own mouth, she admitted, plain as day, that when the original lawsuit was filed, she was pregnant. She was high risk. She thought about taking the video down. She actually said, if it really means that much, I'll take it down. That was her instinct. That was the smart move. That was the off-ramp the universe gave her, and she had her hand on the steering wheel. And then her husband, the man who is supposed to protect her, looked her dead in her face and said, put that back up. Tell her to go sue. His words. Not mine. Not a tabloid's. Hers, describing his. And not only did she put it back up, She doubled down, she tripled down, she escalated. She went on tour with the disrespect, and now, years later, with a $2.6 million judgment hanging over the house, with the bankruptcy filing. With Cardi B's lawyers in court arguing for more, with the IRS surely paying attention, that same husband is now personally named as a defendant in a brand new lawsuit. Read that again. Cardi B's legal team did not stop at the wife. They went up the food chain. They are coming for the husband directly because they believe, and they have evidence to back it up, that money that was supposed to satisfy this judgment has been quietly moved into his name. The house, the accounts, the assets, all of it. And under bankruptcy law, that kind of transfer is not just embarrassing. It is potentially criminal. And I want to sit with that word, criminal, for a second, because I see people in my chat trying to brush it off like it's just an exaggeration for views. It is not. The Federal Bankruptcy Code is one of the least forgiving sections of American civil and criminal law that exists. When a debtor signs a bankruptcy petition, they are signing under penalty of perjury that every word, every number, every disclosed asset is true to the best of their knowledge. That is the same kind of penalty that gets a person locked up for lying to federal investigators. So if a court decides that assets were intentionally moved into a spouse's name for the purpose of shielding them from a creditor, what we are looking at is not just an unwinding of those transfers. We are looking at a referral. We are looking at the kind of file that lands on a U.S. trustee's desk. We are looking at a domino chain that, at its very worst, can end with charges. I am not saying that is what is going to happen tomorrow. I am saying that is what is on the menu. And the people around Tasha K, the lawyers she has left, the family members who actually love her, they all know it. The only person who appears to be in denial about it is Tasha K herself. Let's slow down on that last part for a second, because I do not want anybody to scroll past it. When a person files for bankruptcy, the entire legal point of that process is to make a full, transparent declaration of every asset, every income stream, every transfer, every account. You do not get to hide things. You do not get to slide a house into your spouse's name 3 months before the filing and pretend it never happened. You do not get to suddenly become broke on paper while your husband mysteriously becomes a homeowner. That is called fraudulent transfer, and the federal government takes that very, very seriously. So when Cardi B's attorneys started looking at the husband's declarations, when they started cross-referencing the timeline of when assets moved versus when the judgment hit, when they started looking at the FHA loan that Tasha K herself bragged about, the whole thing started smelling like a coordinated effort to shield money. That is the lawsuit that just dropped. That is why the husband is now standing in the same fire his wife is standing in. And that is why I keep telling you, this is not over. This is not even close to over. This is the part of the movie where the second act villain reveal happens, and the credits are nowhere in sight. But none of it, is even the most damaging piece of evidence Cardi B's team has. You want to know what the most damaging piece is? It's 9 seconds of a woman holding a piece of paper and laughing. That's it. 9 seconds. Some of you remember the video. Tasha K sitting there, water bottle in frame, holding up what she said was a withdrawal slip for $1,083. She had supposedly just gotten back from Africa. She had supposedly just checked her account. And she was making a joke, a whole production, about how she was going to give that money to somebody else because Cardi B was not going to get it. Run a little contest, she said. Upload a video, tag me, tell me what you'd use the money for. The whole performance was designed to do one thing and one thing only: humiliate the woman who had a legitimate court judgment against her. Now think about that on a human level for 1 second. A judge of the United States legal system looked at the facts, looked at the lies, looked at the harm done, and ruled that this woman owed Cardi B a substantial amount of money. That is not opinion. That is not gossip. That is law. And Tasha K's response to that law, in public, on camera, was to wave a piece of paper around and turn the entire judgment into a punchline. Who does that? What kind of person, knowing they are under court order, knowing every word out of their mouth can be used against them, knowing they have lawyers, knowing they have a husband, knowing they have children, decides the smart play is mockery? I will tell you what kind of person. A person who, on some level, still does not believe the law applies to them. A person who built an entire career on the assumption that the internet is a consequence-free zone. A person who got away with so much for so long that she genuinely could not picture a world where the bill comes due. Well, the bill came due. And here is what I need everybody to really understand about that 9-second clip, because this is the part nobody is connecting. That video, the one with the withdrawal slip, was entered as exhibit material in the most recent motion. Cardi B's lawyers did not just argue, "She's still talking about my client." They argued, "She is openly mocking the judgment of this court." There is a legal difference between those two things, and the second one is much, much more dangerous. When you mock a court order in public, you are not just being petty. You are inviting the judge to use his discretion, and judges, contrary to what the internet thinks, are people. They have egos. They have a sense of professional respect. They do not appreciate being treated like a clown in front of millions of viewers. So when Cardi B's team walked into that courtroom with the withdrawal slip clip queued up, when they played it, when the judge watched the laughter, the smirk, the whole show, that judge did exactly what any human being in that chair would do. He gave Cardi B more. He awarded the attorney fees. He sent the message. And he started the 28-day clock. Now let's talk about that clock, because most of y'all do not know what 28 days actually means in this context. It is not a soft deadline. It is not a let's see how it goes deadline. 28 days, in this kind of post-judgment order, is a hard wall. If the bill comes back at 200,000, 300,000, more, and Tasha K cannot produce it inside that window, we are not just talking about more interest. We are talking about contempt. We are talking about additional motions. We are talking about wage garnishment kicked into a higher gear. We are talking about the kind of legal pressure that can convert civil consequences into something that touches a person's freedom if the contempt findings stack high enough. And here is the kicker, the part that is going to make some of y'all rewind. Tasha K does not have it. She filed for bankruptcy. She has been telling everybody who will listen that she is broke. She has been begging the court for payment plans. She has been moving things into her husband's name. So when this attorney fee judgment lands, there is no checkbook waiting in a drawer. There is no rich uncle. There is no surprise sponsorship deal. There is a woman with a YouTube channel, a husband under federal scrutiny, an empty bankruptcy estate, and a 28-day fuse. Do the math. And let me bring something else into this picture, because I think it is going to clarify a lot. People keep saying, well, Lakeisha, she has been making YouTube money for years. She has had endorsements. She has had merchandise. She has had paid interviews. Where did all of that go? That is a question I have been asking myself since the first bankruptcy filing surfaced, and the honest answer is, I do not know exactly. But I can tell you what the public record suggests. The public record suggests a lifestyle that did not match the income claims being filed in court. Trips, outfits, hair, the kids, the nannies, the constant rebrands. None of that is cheap. So either the income was much higher than what was disclosed, which is its own legal problem, or the money was spent recklessly, which means a person who claims to be a media mogul has actually been one bad week away from broke this entire time. Neither of those answers is flattering. And neither of them is going to satisfy a trustee, a judge, or a creditor who is currently sitting on a multi-million-dollar judgment and watching the calendar. And I see some of y'all in the comments already, I see you, talking about, well, Lakeisha, what about her son in Africa? What about the credit card she said she used? What about the FHA loan? What about, stop. Let me clear all of that up. Buying a house on an FHA loan does not mean a person is broke. People with millions of dollars sometimes use FHA loans because their credit is messy. So when Tasha K leaned on the FHA point in her interviews, she was not making the bulletproof argument she thought she was making. In fact, she was doing the opposite. She was telling the court, on the record, in public, that she still had the means to qualify for a mortgage of any kind during a window where she was claiming financial hardship. That is the type of inconsistency that lawyers print out, highlight, and walk straight into the judge's chambers. As for the Africa story, the trips, the credit card explanations, the no money is being transferred defense, all of that sounds great on a podcast. It does not sound great on a sworn financial disclosure. And the moment one of those statements doesn't line up with the other, the perjury exposure goes from theoretical to very, very real. Cardi B's team is not chasing vibes. They're chasing patterns. And patterns is what Tasha K keeps handing them, free of charge, every single time she opens her mouth on camera. I want to take a half-second break here and address something directly, because my inbox has been flooded with the same 5 comments, and I need to put them to bed. Number 1, this is old news. It is not old news. The original lawsuit is old. The bankruptcy is old. What just hit the docket in the last few weeks is brand new. The attorney fee judgment is new. The husband being personally sued is new. The motion citing her recent interviews, including the Chelsea and the mom in New York comments, that's new. If you cannot tell the difference between the old case and the new filings, that is not on me. That is on the people you're getting your news from. Number 2, you're lying about the documents. Pull the case numbers up yourself. Federal court records are public. The docket is searchable. I am not the only person reporting this. The bigger blogs have it. Attorney Simone has it. Neighborhood Talk has it. So unless you believe every single legal commentator and every single major outlet is in a conspiracy to lie about one YouTuber, the math just doesn't math. Number 3, Cardi B sued her because she didn't like her. No. Cardi B sued her because she made false statements about her health, statements that were proven false in court, statements that caused measurable harm. That is the legal standard. That is what the jury and the judge agreed on. She didn't like me is the kind of cope you tell yourself in a podcast chair when you cannot face what actually happened. Number 4, her husband doesn't deserve to be dragged in. Her husband, by her own admission, on her own platform, told her to put the video back up and let the woman sue. Her husband, allegedly, is the name on assets that should belong to the bankruptcy estate. Her husband is not a bystander. He is, by every reasonable read of the evidence, a participant. Whether the court ultimately agrees is a separate question, but the legal exposure is absolutely earned. And number 5, why do you care so much, Lakeisha? I care because fairness matters. I care because when a woman with a microphone uses that microphone to spread lies about another woman's body, her health, her family, her marriage, and refuses to apologize even when given multiple off-ramps, the rest of us have a responsibility to call it what it is. I am not protecting Cardi B. Cardi B is a grown woman with a legal team that costs more than most of our annual salaries. I am protecting the principle that you cannot just say whatever you want about a person and walk away whistling. Let me circle back to the apology piece for a second, because I think it is the spiritual center of this entire saga. Tasha K has been offered, in one form or another, the chance to apologize for the original lies for years now. Years. There were moments, off the record, on the record, through intermediaries, where a simple, sincere, public apology could have ended this whole thing. People are forgiving. The internet has a short memory. If she had stood up, owned the lie, taken responsibility, and asked for forgiveness, the audience that loves a comeback story would have been there for her. Instead, what did she do? She doubled down. She tripled down. She turned it into a brand. She wore it like a badge. I don't apologize. I'll wipe my behind with a cease and desist. That energy felt good for the gram. It felt good for the clips. It felt good for the merch and the channel growth. But that energy, that exact energy, is what built the legal record that is now drowning her. Every interview where she laughed about it. Every sit-down where she said the lawyers were inexperienced. Every podcast where she blamed Chelsea, blamed her mother, blamed her husband, blamed God, blamed everyone except the woman in the mirror. All of it. Stacked. Filed. Exhibited. Cited. There is a phrase lawyers use, admissions against interest. It means a statement a person makes that hurts their own case. Courts love admissions against interest because they are seen as inherently credible, the logic being that nobody makes themselves look bad on purpose unless what they are saying is true. Tasha K has been producing admissions against interest at an industrial pace. Every time she says, "My lawyer was fresh out of college, I should have hired better," that is an admission. Every time she says, "My husband told me to put it back up," that is an admission. Every time she says, "I bought my house on an FHA loan, I'm broke," that is an admission. And every time she laughs at a withdrawal slip, that is, in the eyes of a judge, an admission about her relationship with the court itself. So while she thinks she is winning the public narrative, what she is actually doing is filling Cardi B's attorney's brief with quote after quote after quote that they could not have manufactured if they tried. They do not need to subpoena her. She is putting it all on her own channel, with a ring light and a microphone, for free. And I want to talk about the Chelsea statement specifically, because that one might actually be the next legal landmine and nobody is paying attention. In one of her recent sit-downs, Tasha K decided, for reasons known only to herself, to start naming people and floating new claims about whose medical information was whose. She basically said, well, the information I had was not Cardi B's, it was somebody else's, and then said the name out loud. Do you understand what that does legally? It is one thing to make a false claim about a public figure and lose. That is bad enough. It is an entire other thing to, while still under court order related to that exact case, start making fresh statements involving a different person's alleged medical information. That is a new defamation exposure. That is a new potential plaintiff. That is a new lawsuit waiting to be filed by someone who is not Cardi B at all. And Tasha K, with her track record, with her bankruptcy, with the husband under fire, with the 28-day clock running, just opened that door on her own podcast. I cannot make this up. I would not even know how to script this if I tried. And remember, the Chelsea piece is not just floating out there in a vacuum. It is contextually linked to the original case. It is the kind of statement that a plaintiff's attorney looks at and immediately writes the cause of action into a complaint, because she is essentially saying, I might have lied about the famous person. But the same family member was also the source for another person's alleged health information. That second person, whoever they are, now is standing. They have a name attached to a public claim. They have video evidence. They have a defendant with a poor track record in defamation court. That is not a hypothetical case. That is a layup. And the moment somebody decides to pull the trigger, Tasha K is right back where she started. Except this time, the woman she defamed has watched the Cardi B blueprint and knows exactly what works. So where does that leave us? Let me paint the full picture as cleanly as I can. On one side, you have Cardi B, a woman who, whether you like her music or not, whether you like her personality or not, has done exactly what you are supposed to do when somebody lies on you. She lawyered up. She fought it in court. She won. She was patient. She let the system do its job. She did not retaliate in kind. She did not return slander with slander. She did not weaponize her own massive platform to destroy this woman the way she easily could have. She let the law speak for her. And now, after years of patience, she is collecting. On the other side, you have Tasha K, a woman who has, at every single decision point, chosen the worst possible path. Sue her? Sure. Lose in court? Mock the judgment. Bankruptcy? Move assets. Court order? Skirt it. Husband telling you to back down before all of this? No, listen to him when he tells you to escalate, then watch him become a co-defendant. Apology offered to you on a silver platter? Throw it back. Reality offering you 9 different exits? Drive past every single one of them with your foot on the gas. And then, when the wall finally appears, when the 28-day clock finally starts ticking, sit on Instagram and laugh about a withdrawal slip like the joke is on anyone other than yourself. I want to be honest with you about something, because this is not just news to me. I have watched this woman's career from the beginning. I have watched her grow her platform on the backs of people who could not afford the lawyers to fight back. For every Cardi B who can drag her through a federal docket, there are 10 regular people, regular women, regular families, who got dragged on her channel for clout and had no recourse because they did not have the money, the time, or the platform to defend themselves. That is the part of the story that does not show up in the court filings, but it is the part that matters most. The harm she has done is not measured in one judgment. It is measured in a decade of casual cruelty packaged as content. So when I tell you that the 28-day clock is the universe finally catching up to her, I am not being dramatic. I am being literal. This is, in a very real sense, a balance sheet finally getting balanced. And let me name some of those people, not by name, because I am not about to drag anybody who has already been through enough, but by category. The young singer whose mental health diagnosis got speculated about on a Tuesday afternoon for views. The reality TV star whose miscarriage got turned into a thumbnail. The athlete's wife who was accused of an affair based on, allegedly, a single screenshot from a private account. The local Atlanta woman who was not famous, who was not protected, who simply existed in proximity to a famous person, and who lost her job because of a video that called her things that were not true. These are real people. These are real lives. And while the internet was eating popcorn, while the comments were stacking up, while the channel was monetizing, those people were sitting at home trying to figure out how to put their reputations back together with no resources and no remedy. Cardi B is the one with the money and the muscle to actually take this woman to court. But Cardi B is also, in a very real sense, fighting on behalf of every person who could not. Now, a few of you keep asking me what I think happens next, so let me give you my honest read. I think the husband's case is going to move faster than people expect. I think Cardi B's team has already done the asset trace work, and I think the discovery process is going to surface text messages, emails, transfer records, and timeline data that paints a very inconvenient picture for both of them. I think within the next 90 days, you are going to see additional motions filed that go beyond money and start touching on contempt. I think the platform she has built, the very same channel and audience she has used to mock this judgment, is going to start working against her algorithmically as advertisers, brand partners. And platform policy teams look at the legal record and decide it is just not worth it. I think you are going to see a quiet reduction in her reach. I think you are going to see fewer big-name guests willing to sit across from her. I think you are going to see, in some form or another, the kind of slow public unmaking that is much, much worse than any single court loss. And I think, somewhere in the middle of all of that, there is going to be a moment, maybe on a live stream, maybe in a long-form interview, where the mask slips and we are going to see, for the first time, what this whole situation actually looks like behind the eyes of the person living it. I do not say that with joy. I say that as a person who has watched far too many self-destructions to not recognize the early warning signs. Before I wrap, let me leave you with one more thing to chew on, because I know somebody is going to bring it up in the comments. People keep asking, well, why did Cardi B accept only a few $1,000s out of the supposed millions she's owed? That question shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how post-judgment collection works. When you have a multi-million-dollar judgment against a person who has filed for bankruptcy, you do not get a check for the full amount. You get pieces. You get whatever the court allows you to seize. You get whatever the bankruptcy trustee approves for distribution. You get, in some cases, the contents of an account on the day the seizure is executed, even if that content is only $1,083. And here is the irony so thick you can spread it on toast. The very moment Tasha K thought she was clowning Cardi B by turning that withdrawal slip into a punchline, the system was doing exactly what it was designed to do. It was draining. It was emptying. It was collecting in increments. The joke was never on Cardi B. The joke was, and continues to be, on the woman holding the slip. I want to add one more layer to that, because this is the part that always gets missed in the gossip cycle. Post-judgment collection is a marathon, not a sprint, and it favors the patient party. Every account Tasha K opens going forward can be targeted. Every paycheck can be garnished, depending on jurisdiction and the type of debt. Every royalty stream, every YouTube AdSense payout that is in her name, every brand deal that touches her actual bank account can be intercepted with the right motion at the right time. The judgment does not expire quickly. In most jurisdictions, a judgment of this size can be renewed, can travel across states, can follow her through career changes, can sit on her credit report like a tombstone for decades. So when she laughs and says, "I don't have it," she may be telling the truth about today. But every tomorrow she has for the rest of her productive working life is now, in some sense, mortgaged to a woman she chose, deliberately, to make her enemy. That is what people do not understand about the long game. The judgment is not a moment. It is a tether. And once it is on you, the only way off it is to pay it, all the way down to the last dollar. So here is where I leave you tonight, because I have said my piece and I have shown you the receipts, and I have walked you through the legal map as clearly as I know how. If you want to keep believing the channels with the dollar store wigs and the borrowed talking points, that is a free country and a free internet, and you are welcome to it. But if you have been watching this saga unfold and feeling in your gut that something does not add up, that the audacity is too loud, that the laughter is too forced, that the 28-day clock is real even when the woman it's ticking on refuses to acknowledge it, then I want you to do 3 things for me. Sit with this video. Save it. Send it to the family member who keeps asking, wait, what's actually going on with that whole thing? Tap the like, because the algorithm decides who else gets to see this breakdown, and the more of you who engage, the more of the truth travels. And then, most importantly, drop a comment and tell me, in your honest opinion, what you think happens when the 28 days are up. Do you think she pays? Do you think she runs? Do you think the husband flips? Do you think this is the moment she finally apologizes? Or do you think she rides this all the way into the ground because, at this point, the brand is too tied to the bit? I want to hear it. Every theory. Every angle. Because I read these comments, and a lot of times, y'all see things I miss. And one more thing before the outro, because somebody is going to ask. I do not enjoy this. I want to make that clear. When people see a creator covering a story like this multiple times, the assumption is that we are feasting on the misery, that we are clout chasing, that we are riding a wave. That is not what is happening here. What is happening here is that a legal case with massive public interest is unfolding in real time. The documents are public, the videos are public, and somebody has to be willing to sit down, read the filings, watch the interviews, line up the dates, and tell the audience what is actually happening in plain English. If I don't, somebody less careful will. Somebody who does not check sources will. Somebody who reads a headline and runs with it will. So when I cover this, I cover it like the receipts have my name on them, because they do. I would rather lose a thumbnail to a flashier channel and keep the trust of the people watching than win one news cycle and get something wrong. That is the deal I have with you. That has always been the deal. Now let me hit you with something that I've been sitting on for a few days, because I wanted to make sure the dots actually connect before I said it out loud. There is a pattern I have noticed, going back through every public-facing move Tasha K has made in the last 12 months, and the pattern is this. Every single time the legal pressure tightens, within 72 hours, there is a new content drop. A new podcast. A new sit-down interview. A new dramatic live stream. A new merchandise tease. Every time. Like clockwork. And at first I thought it was just instinct, the natural reflex of a creator to feed the algorithm during stressful moments. But the longer I have watched it, the more it looks like something else. It looks like a deliberate strategy to keep the AdSense flowing, the brand alive, and the public emotionally invested, so that when the court eventually reaches into the bank account, there is at least a trickle of cash to grab. The problem is, that same trickle of content is what keeps generating the admissions, the slip-ups, the new defamation exposures, the new contempt-adjacent statements. So the strategy that is supposed to keep her afloat is the exact strategy that is sinking her faster. It is a financial tail chase. And every loop around the track makes the noose tighter. Let me give you one more concrete example of how this works in practice, because it is important. When Tasha K filed for bankruptcy, one of the routine questions on the petition is the source and amount of all current income. Now, imagine you are filling out that form, and the very next week you publish a long-form video that monetizes through ads, memberships, and super chats. That income is real. It hits an account. It gets reported, eventually, on a 1099 from the platform. And if the bankruptcy disclosures do not match what the platform reports, that is a flag. Not a small flag. A federal flag. So every time she posts, every time she live streams, every time she runs another rant about how broke she is while simultaneously cashing checks from a content platform, she is creating a paper trail that, side by side with her court filings, can read like an indictment. And again, none of this is theoretical. The trustee has access to all of it. Cardi B's lawyers can subpoena all of it. The IRS, which historically pays attention to high-profile bankruptcy cases tied to public figures, can look at all of it. The walls do not need to close in dramatically. They're quietly already closed. She just has not turned around to notice. And I want to be careful here, because I want this to be a fair conversation and not a pile-on. There are pieces of Tasha K's story that are genuinely sympathetic. She built something from nothing. She came up in a media space that was not easy to crack. She is a mother. She is a wife. She has, at various moments, talked openly about her own struggles in ways that have helped other women. None of what I am saying tonight erases any of that. But sympathy without accountability is not love. It is enabling. And the people in her life who keep co-signing the bit, who keep laughing at the jokes, who keep telling her that the haters are jealous and the lawyers are clueless and the judge will eventually come around, those people are not helping her. They are hand-delivering her to a worse outcome than the one she could still avoid if somebody, anybody, in her circle had the courage to say, "Sis, stop. Sit down. Apologize. Pay what you can. Take the deal. Live to come back another day." That is what a real friend says. That is what a real husband says. And the absence of that voice in her life, on her timeline, is, in many ways, the most damning evidence that something has gone deeply, deeply wrong with the people surrounding her. Let me also address the people who keep asking, Lakeisha, what if she just leaves the country? What if she really does pack up and move to Africa permanently like the rumors said? Does the judgment still follow her? Great question, and the answer is more interesting than you might think. A United States civil judgment of this size does not magically disappear when a person crosses an ocean. There are treaties, there are international enforcement mechanisms, there are reciprocal arrangements between certain countries and the US court system. It is harder to collect across borders, yes, but it is not impossible, and the cost of trying is something that Cardi B's team can absolutely absorb if they decide it is worth it. More importantly, the moment she physically leaves US soil while under active legal proceedings, especially if there is any whiff of asset transfer or contempt findings, she is creating a new layer of exposure on top of everything else. Flight risk concerns. Possible travel restrictions. Renewed scrutiny on every dollar that crossed an international wire. So even the escape plan, the one the rumor mill keeps floating, is not really an escape plan. It is just a different flavor of the same trap. There is, at this point, no clean way out for her that does not involve sitting down, paying what she can, and finally, finally taking the L on camera. And every day she does not do that, the math gets uglier. And one more thing the rumor channels keep getting wrong, because I want to clean this up too. The fled to Africa narrative was never really about a literal escape. It was about Tasha K herself joking in interviews that she was taking the money overseas. That joke, like every other joke in this saga, was meant to humiliate. And like every other joke, it ended up on a transcript that lives forever in a discovery binder. Pattern after pattern after pattern. You can almost hear the lawyers smiling every time she opens her mouth at this point. They are not even chasing her anymore. She is feeding them. I'll be back with more updates as the filings come in, and trust me, they are coming. The husband's case is on a track. The 28-day clock is moving. The next big motion is already being drafted somewhere in a firm that has been waiting years for this exact moment. So make sure your notifications are on, because when the next shoe drops, and it will, you are going to want to hear it from somebody who has actually read the documents, not somebody making things up between party citywig fittings. Take care of yourselves. Drink your water. Mind your business. And remember, the loudest person in the room is almost always the one with the most to lose. I'll talk to y'all. Stay sharp out there. Stay skeptical. And do not forget that receipts always, always find the light.